Welcome back to the Hamilton Public Library. This is Linda, and today we'll be making snowflakes. The first one we'll make will be out of paper bags. You may have seen this all over the internet, so we're going to try it out. Next, we're going to try a quilled snowflake. And the last one will be a snowflake made out of clothespins. So we'll start with the paper bags. You're going to need 8 paper bags. Depending on the size of the bag. So the larger ones, you'll need about 8. You can see here, this one has a bit of a missing piece at the top, so we're going to cut that off so that all the bags are straight and the glue doesn't seep through. You're going to need a piece of ribbon and some hot glue. So I've also made it with colored paper bags. You just cut off the handles and you use the same technique I'm going to show you today. And you can see how pretty it is with the color on the outside and the craft paper bag on the inside. So we're going to start by gluing all 8 paper bags together. Like I said, I'm using hot glue today. I just find that it works better. It dries a bit faster. So we're going to glue down the middle and along the bottom, and we'll place another paper bag on top. We're just going to stack all 8 on top of the previous one, remembering to add glue in between. So here's another one. We're just going to continue on. I find that 8 bags works great for the larger lunch bags. If you were using the smaller ones like I showed you, the blue one, I only used 6. You can also use colored party bags, you know, the goodie bags. They're even smaller, so you could make them out of that. There's lots of possibilities. So we're just going to continue stacking. Once we've got them all stacked up, I'm going to show you how to cut out a very simple design. So today we're just going to do a simple cut, but you can make it as elaborate as you'd like, kind of like when you're making snowflakes out of paper. You know, you can make your design really simple or really elaborate. It's totally up to you. So we just got a couple paper bags to go. And if you wanted to do this with young children, you could use white glue instead. It's a little safer and it takes a bit longer to dry, but they can do it themselves with the white glue. So you're going to need a good pair of scissors to try to cut through the bags. You can either cut each bag, you know, individually. That takes a bit longer, or just try to cut through them all. So first I'm going to mark where I want the cuts to begin, and this one's going to be pointed. You can cut them, you know, into a rounded edge or whatever you'd like, but we're going to keep it really simple today, and we're just going to cut them pointed. So I'm just going to take a few pieces of the paper bags and I'm going to cut them separately rather than try to go through them all at once, and then I'll show you on the other side how I, you know, cut through all of them. But you'll need a really good pair of scissors. Okay, so now we're going to cut the other side. You'll see that it just makes it a sharp point. And marking where you're going to cut is helpful so that you're not cutting one size deeper than the other. So it looks a little bit more even. And now we're going to cut 2 triangles out on either side. And like I said, you can make it more elaborate. You could cut, you know, several triangles on either side. You can make hearts out of them. You could do circles. It's totally up to you. I remember the first time I saw a paper bag made this way, I thought it was magic. You know, it's such a simple craft, and you can make it your own in so many different ways, like using the colored bags or making your own design, you know, and experiment with them. And it's a very inexpensive craft because you could get a big bunch of lunch bags for a very low price. So now I'm going to glue in the ribbon. You want this so that you can hang up your snowflake. If you forget and you have to do it later, it's not a big deal. You could probably, what I suggest is just punch a hole in one of the points and thread something through. And you're going to do the same thing. Just run the glue down the middle and then along the bottom. And now we're going to open up the first and last paper bags and join them together. So the easiest way to do this is to put your hand inside the paper bag and put your hand inside the other at the ends and basically try to join the two together. So you just have to get your hands in there and you're going to join them and press a little bit just to make sure the glue adheres. You may need to add a bit more glue if it doesn't stay. But you can see that it has made a really pretty snowflake with just such a simple design. So imagine what you can do if you, you know, cut a few more designs in there, or a very, let's say you cut in some half hearts, you'll have hearts all the way around. Really pretty. So that's our first snowflake. So the next snowflake we're going to make is a quilled snowflake. So you can see here the pretty design. This is made using long strips of paper. So I have strips of white paper cut into 1/4 inch by 17 inches. You're going to need a quilling tool or something to curl the strips of paper, like the end of a paintbrush or a toothpick or a skewer. So you're going to take one of these strips of paper, and the quilling tool has a slot in the metal part where you can thread the paper through, and then this helps you twirl it around. So each of these strips of paper will need to be twirled, and then we're going to glue them together. The snowflake needs between 12 and 16 of these strips of paper, depending how big you're going to make it. So you can see here I've twirled it into a little tight circle. And another tool that is helpful is a stencil with different shaped or different sized circles in it. And they can be a little pricey, so I made my own using a Cricut. Cricuts are available at some of your libraries, so check your location to see if they have one. So I'm going to use this size circle here to make them all the same size. So this is what you want. You want your circles to be all the same size so it looks even and symmetrical. I'm going to add a bit of glue to the end. Here I'm using white glue. I don't recommend using hot glue in this case because you do need to press down to make the circle, and you could risk burning your hand. So once it's dry, you can see we have that pretty pattern in the middle, but now we're going to squeeze the two ends to make a cat eye. I believe this is called a marquee. So there you have your first part of the snowflake. So we're going to continue. I'm going to show you how to do this a couple more times, and then we'll come back and I'll show you how to glue your snowflake together. So again, we're just twirling a strip of paper. It is recommended to use really long strips of paper for most projects. Sometimes you do need the shorter ones if you're just making little fillers and stuff. But today we're just going to do the one type of pattern, and there are books at the library that teaches you all the other patterns. So I encourage you to check them out. So again, we're going to glue the circle together. You can see it's similar in size to the other snowflake part that we just made. And this is important so that your snowflake looks nice and symmetrical all the way around. So we're going to do one more, just so you get the idea. Now it would be a little bit trickier to use a paintbrush or a toothpick, but all you have to do is make sure the end of the strip of paper is curled around before you start twirling. And again, we're just going to glue the end to the rest of the circle, and then we'll squeeze the two ends together to make the cat eye. Next, I'll show you how to put it all together. So you can see here I now have all the pieces made, and I've kind of put them together to where I'd like to glue them. So I'm just going to move a few pieces out of the way, and we're going to glue the center part of it first. This is the part of the project where I'm going to use hot glue instead of white glue because it doesn't involve my fingers getting burned, and it works just a little bit better. So you can see here the first one I'm going to try it with the white glue just to show you what you need to do. So we're going to press them together, and you have to hold them for a few minutes. White glue takes quite a bit longer to dry. So we're going to make sure it's dry. But the next one I'm going to do with hot glue. This works a little bit faster. Just put a dot of it at the tip, and you just keep gluing them tip to tip until you get all the way around. So here for the first centerpiece, I'm using 6 of the quilled pieces that I've made. And again, with this one, the possibilities are endless. You could make this really quite large by just adding more and more of the quilled pieces. Once you have the 6 pieces in the middle done, we're going to add the other 6 pieces in between each of the first 6 pieces, if that makes sense. I'll show you what I mean. So here you have the 6 done. You could leave it at this. It looks very pretty and simple. You could make this in red and make it a poinsettia. Or we're going to continue now with the other pieces I've made. So I'm going to add glue to both sides of the pointed tip of this cat eye here, and we're going to insert it between 2 others. So now you can see it's getting bigger and taking more of a snowflake appearance. And like I said, if you wanted to make it even bigger than that, I'm only showing you today the one technique for making a quilled piece. There are so many different designs. So today we're learning how to do the marquee or the cat eye. But there's different things. There's one, instead of squeezing them on both ends of the circle, you squeeze it on one end and you have a teardrop. So you can go on and on with the way you're making different pieces and making different designs and gluing things together. So today I'm just showing you the simplest quilt design for a snowflake. And And once you have all these pieces glued together, you could leave it like this. I suggest putting in or threading a piece of fishing line or a piece of thread through so that you can hang it. I'm going to add a piece of or a little jewel in the middle. So you can add glitter to it, you can paint it, you could add little gemstones you find at the dollar store. You can do whatever you'd like. You can even make it multicolored, so you can make your snowflake blue and white. Again, the possibilities are endless. So now that I have it all completely glued together, you'll see it's just like my first one here. I'm going to use one of these gemstones. They are already sticky on the one side, so you don't need to add glue. But if you need to add glue, you just use some hot glue. And we're going to stick it right in the center. This just gives it a little bit of, glitter. There, and now we've learned how to make a quilled snowflake. And our very last snowflake today will be made out of clothespins. So I have here 8 pairs of clothespins. I've removed the metal part, and we're going to glue them on the flat side together. So I've already glued a few here, but I'll show you how to glue them together. So you're going to take the 2 flat sides. I'm using hot glue, and we're going to attach them. And again, in this project, only hot glue will work. The white glue will not be strong enough to make the 2 pieces stick. So use your hot glue. And then we're going to take our pieces and we're going to glue them all together to make our snowflake. So once you have all your pieces glued together, we're going to arrange them. We're going to add glue. There is a small slanted side to each clothespin, and those are the sides that we're going to glue together. And then once you have the first 4, just like the quilled snowflake, we're going to make the center first. Once you have the first 4 glued together, we're going to insert the other pieces. So you can see here how fast the hot glue dries, and you can move through this project pretty quickly. So now we're just going to continue adding glue to the slanted sides and adding each piece. And now we're going to add glue to the last 2 pieces here to insert the final piece. And you see here it makes a big plus sign. So now we're going to take the other 4 pieces and we're going to do the same thing. We're going to add glue to each of the slanted sides and we're going to insert them between 2 clothespins that are already glued together. Now you can leave your clothespin snowflake as is. I kind of like the light wood color. It looks very rustic. I'm also going to show you one that I've painted white. So you, again, have possibilities. And these you could leave plain as is. You can decorate again with gemstones that you find at the dollar store. You can use, in my case, I've used our 3D printers at the library to make snowflakes. I've made a white snowflake and a blue snowflake, and we're going to glue them to the middle. You can add shimmer to them. There's so many different things you can do. And this is a great project to do with children as well, not just with adults. So if you wanted to involve children, the adult could glue all the pieces together and then the child could decorate it. It's a really great project. I remember making these as kids. We used clothespins to do a lot of craft in school. So now I'm going to tie a piece of twine. I think twine looks great with the plain wood colored snowflake. I'm going to tie a piece of twine and then I'm going to glue it to the back. This will help in hanging the snowflake. If you wanted to use a pretty piece of ribbon, that's fine too. You could just use those wire hooks that you get, in packages of like 1,000 for hanging ornaments. You can do whatever. So you can see here I've added my twine. I'm now going to add the white snowflake I've made using our 3D printers. I'm going to glue it right to the center. It's kind of difficult to see in the video, but you can see that there's the white snowflake in the middle, and it just adds a little something to it. So you can see here with the wood-colored clothespins and this white snowflake in the middle, it's very sweet looking. And then I have another one that I've made that I've painted white, and I'm going to add the blue snowflake that I've printed on our 3D printers. And so you can see you can just change it and get a completely different snowflake. That's all for our projects today. We've learned to make 3 types of snowflakes, and I hope you've enjoyed it. And we'll use these projects to make a winter wonderland for your home. Thank you.